Be sure to subscribe to Solutionaries to see all our latest videos right here on YouTube.
Well, growing up in Danville, it's been some kind of challenge, and we lost a lot of textile, we lost all kinds of industries. So Danville hit some tough times because people had to survive, and our crime increased tremendously.
I remember waking up to a homicide just about every day. The streets were not safe.
This area right here did have quite a bit of crime, violent crime. Started reaching out to federal partners, other local, state law enforcement partners, and saw help.
This is a model like no other. This is the best police department I can ever imagine.
I can't say that I recognized how bad things were until I was older, to recognize what drugs were and what was going on in the corners and things like that. I'm Steve Richardson, the Captain of Professional Standards and the current PO with the Danville Police Department.
You grew up here. Where are we sitting?
We're sitting on 1716 North Main Street. This is the address that was my grandparents', where I spent a lot of my childhood. I grew up across the street and here in this block just up in Camp Grove neighborhood, and just a lot of childhood memories over here.
Did you feel safe being out here?
Well, I think it's one of those things where maybe when I got a little older and realized what was in the community, and more of an open air drug market then, things we don't see here now. We see rehabilitation, and this has been an area of focused law enforcement presence for decades. It doesn't look the same as it did 25, 30 years ago. The North Main community is going back approximately a decade ago, was an area when the police department first started looking at some forms of data and recognized that disproportionate amount of violent crime had happened in some of these areas, and focused street crimes efforts then on those areas from North Main Hill area all the way up to about 3rd Avenue, and really focused a team of officers in those areas.
So vividly, I remember 2016 when crime had spiked. I am TYQUAN Graves. I'm an investigator with Danville Police Department, and I'm also on the school board.
What was it like here in 2016?
2016, I remember waking up to a homicide just about every day. The streets were not safe, in my opinion. 2016, what was gang activity like?
It was probably the height of gang activity and the low point for the community. A gang war, it kind of broke out here, something that the police department community had never seen. It led to a major investigation, probably one of the largest that the police department's undertaken, starting in late 2017 and continued into 2018. It led to a round of indictments.
All right, after you.
Thank you.
This is the Peace Center.
It's beautiful.
And PEACE stands for Police Engage in Active Community Engagement.
Scott C. Booth, Chief of Police, City of Danville, Virginia.
Talk to me about your first day on the job. What kinds of challenges did you walk into?
Wow. So first day on the job, it's been a while. It's about over 4 years now. It was a department that was kind of under pressure to really solve some crime problems here in the city of Danville. Danville's a relatively small city of about 42,000 people, but at the time, per capita, it had the highest violent crime rate in the state of Virginia. So that was kind of that sword hanging over our heads, right? As well, we've got this tremendous violent crime issue. Young men were losing their lives, were getting shot here on a fairly regular basis. And you also had a community that was gripped by fear of that crime, and we didn't really have a clear path forward.
So this is the first day of the Danville Police Youth Academy, and you're going to learn about law enforcement. You're going to learn a little bit about me, the women and men behind me, and this is really about getting to know us and connecting with us so we can better serve your community, because that is what we're here to do, to serve you and your community.
Kind of what I believed in then, and even more strongly now, is the power of community and police working together to not only reduce crime, solve crime, but also to build those relationships that are so inherently important to being able to reduce and solve crimes. Our first community walk was in Cardinal Village. It took about 40 officers over there, members of the community, just walked around, knocked on doors, and just talked, and really talked about how we can solve problems. And after 2 hours, we all sat down and we did some feedback, and I could tell the officers really felt better. They were like, hey, not everybody hates us over here. The community was like, hey, not all police are bad, and that was really foundational for us.
Good morning. There you go.
We need to get our community engaged, as you see behind me right now. So Chief Booth and his team became engaged in the community. That changed the whole perspective. I'm Alonzo Jones, and I'm the mayor of Danville, Virginia. I talk about it all the time. My council members, if they were standing beside me, I talk about those partners. That's what it takes, is those partners. Those partners also being these young people, their parents, the citizens in this community, the police department, all about 1,000 of our city workers, council members, and many, many more persons. Those partnerships work because we see something, say something. If you got all those partners, that makes it work.
I just think back to 2018 when Chief Booth came. I mean, the image of the police department changed drastically. The things that he wanted to do, especially with community policing, just spiked my interest. I remember having a talk with him about the future of the department and where things were going, and I wanted to be a part. I never thought growing up that I would want to be a police officer. I always wanted to be a teacher, but the things that he had in mind and the way I felt the department was about to grow, I wanted to be a part of that change. I'm trying to change that image, I'm trying to get out here and talk to people. Solving crime is all about talking to people. I'm telling you, if people feel comfortable with talking to you, they'll tell you anything, they'll give you anything.
So it sounds like there have been a lot of solutions. Is there one specific solution that you think is the number one?
You have to have focus and accountability. All right, you have to have officers that are focused on community problems and are receptive to what the community has to say, not just us telling them what the problems are, but us listening to them.
The Northwest officer responded 253 service calls, and we had 42 reportable incidents.
We have monthly, weekly, daily meetings. I meet with staff 4 days a week, and we talk about the day ahead, what our focus is, what our crime looked like the night before, and how we're going to focus our officers and our detectives and our resources on that crime. I want it to be very conversational. It's not adversarial, but we're going to talk about our community. We're going to talk about any unsolved crimes that are out there. We're going to talk about what we're doing to solve those crimes. We're going to talk about our clearance rates on those crimes.
We use the national average as a benchmark, but we began really challenging ourselves in 2018 and 2019 to look at the numbers on a weekly basis, look at every case, be sure we're doing everything. That accountability model forces everybody in the department to have a role, be responsible for that role, and if you don't do your part, then it's kind of hard to stand in front of the room every week and explain what you did if you didn't do your job.
And now, when there is a gang shooting, what do you do?
We'll actually go out at times and go door to door and explaining to both sides of the violent act that we're aware of what happened. We can't change what's been done, but trying to deter the next act and make sure they know that they're out, that we're going to have officers out to deter further acts. And that's been a big part of our model of gang reduction, violent crime reduction, and swiftly solving those crimes when they do happen.
What you're doing here, is this something that can translate to any community across the country?
Well, every community has different challenges and different opportunities, right? I think the basic template would work, and I think any department that is focused on crime and focused on building relationships almost equally, right? Because they're both so important to reducing crime will be successful.
Are there limits to what you're doing? Are there limitations?
I haven't found them. You're becoming a police department reflective of the community and solving the community's problems that they, in a way they want. Not over policing, not mistreating, not abusing power. And we're being fair to everyone while still getting violent folks off the street. The community, that's what they want. Nobody wants violence.
What's the one thing that a community member has said to you that stands out the most?
Well, they're not afraid to go outside anymore. That's important to me when I hear that. When they're thankful for the relationship that they have with the police, that's important to me. When they feel that their community has changed, I've heard that a couple times. That's very important to me because I am a true believer that if the police and the community are working together, great things can happen. So I'm kind of corny like that. So even beyond community policing, I think if you really dig in as a police department and you work with the community to identify problems, just some great things can happen.
Solutionaries needs you to be part of the conversation. Your comments below will help us tackle new topics and track down solutions. And don't forget to subscribe.